Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Heart of the Shaman. I'm Alberto Villoldo. It's great to be with you today. And the Heart of the Shaman has just come out. And people ask me frequently, what is a shaman? And why is it important today? And you know, the shamans are Aboriginal wizards. They're the men and women of wisdom that were able to see through the veils between the worlds and that understood that we're living in a dream. And they mastered the art of dreaming. But it's important today because we are all Aboriginal people. We're all native. We're all the children of Mother Earth. And the shamanic traditions are deeply feminine traditions. They're ancient ways to the divine and to co-creating with the divine. It's not a spectator sport. This is what we learn from the shamanic traditions, that we participate in creating the world and creating our health and creating our dreams all the time. And we have the choice of whether we do it consciously or we do it unconsciously. So the shamans speak about the sacred dream. Now, I remember as a young man, my dreams were to be rich and famous and succeed and find love and beauty. And those were all distractions in so many ways. Those were not the sacred dreams. In fact, every one of those dreams, when I looked for job safety, when I was working at the University of California, I wanted job security. I wanted to be a tenured professor. There's no such thing as finding security or safety anywhere but inside yourself. This is what the shaman understands. My dreams of love. Oh, how many dreams of love turn into nightmares? So the shamans, in the heart of the shaman, I identify 3 dreams that turn into nightmares if we're not very, very careful with them. One of them is the dream of safety, the dream of love, of that unconditional love, of that person that's going to get us perfectly, that will understand us better than we even understand ourselves. And we spend so much of our lives looking for that person, but what we have to do is to become that person, to become the perfect partner, become a good human being so that we can attract the right partner to ourselves instead of looking for the right partner. And the third dream that the shamans need to wake up from is the dream of death, the fear of death that haunts us so continually, whether it be through a diagnosis or through bad news or through an illness. And then we discover infinity. The sacred dream of the shamans is the dream of infinity, of the journey beyond the beyond, of an extraordinary journey that we're on, of an adventure that we're living. That's not about getting a better car or a better house. That's fun too, but that's not the goal. It's really about sitting across the dinner face to face with God, with the Great Spirit, and dreaming the world into being, dreaming a world of peace, a world of beauty, dreaming an outrageous adventure for yourself. You know, it's the shamans say that it's so difficult to get a physical body. And the Tibetan shamans speak about the same thing. They say that the chances of getting a physical body are the same as that of a great sea turtle that comes from the depths of the ocean for fresh air once every 500 years, of it coming up and surfacing and having its head go through the ring of a life float that's drifting in the ocean. It's incredibly rare to have this kind of privilege that we have of being in a human body. And we came here to learn and to have an outrageous adventure and not to suffer. And these 3 dreams are the dreams that keep us suffering. The tremendous hurt that we feel with lost love, the fear of death. And when we wake up from them, or the tremendous need that we have for safety outside of ourselves. And I remember the story of a family during World War II. And this family since lived in England, and it was a husband, a wife, and 3 beautiful daughters. And they sensed that World War II was coming. They sensed that there was going to be terrible destruction in Europe. And they took out a world map and they looked at where in the world could they go that would be safe. and they found a little island in the Pacific that nothing ever happened in. And it was called Guadalcanal. And they moved there with their family. And it was the site of the fiercest fighting in all of World War II. So when you ask the shamans, where in the world is it safe? Where is it safe to be? They answered, nowhere. Nowhere is safe. And then they say, but you can become a safe person. You can become a safe human being, and then you create safety around you no matter what is going on, no matter what is happening. And then you have the opportunity to dream the sacred dream. So I remember when I first went to the high Andes mountains and I met the shamans, and I was very fortunate to be the first North American anthropologist to have contact with these wisdom keepers that had fled at the time of the conquest to villages up at 14,000 feet, 14, 15, 16,000 feet altitude. They'd had no contact with the West, but they'd been observing and watching the West for a very long time and looking at what the white man was doing, how we were destroying the earth. And they were the keepers of a body of prophecy that announced a time of tremendous chaos, and that out of this chaos would come a new human being. And that new human being would be us, would be not Homo sapiens anymore, but Homo luminous. It would be, we would take a quantum leap in our development, in our evolution, happening during this time of tremendous crisis. But nothing was guaranteed. And it would have to be taken by each one of us individually. Because, the interesting thing about biology is that biology says that we evolve in between generations, that maybe our children will be smarter and handsomer than we are, but that is too late for us. But during these times of tremendous ecological crisis like we're living in today, we're able to take quantum leaps. We're able to not only do these incremental steps that make us a little bit better, but really go from this worm that can become a butterfly. And this is the time that we're living in right now, where we can learn how to grow a new body that ages differently and heals differently. We can taste infinity. We can taste immortality. We can look through the veils of death and see that there's an extraordinary, luminous journey ahead of us. And this is what I was challenged with when I first went to the Andes Mountains as a young anthropologist. They said to me, "What are you looking for?" And I had to admit that I was just so happy to be the first to find these indigenous people. I could become famous. And I did in a little way. But that's not what I was really looking for. What I was really looking for was God, was spirit, was to taste that nectar that is holy and sacred. And over the years of working with the shamans, I learned how to taste the nectar of those flowers. I discovered how to do it. And this is what I do today, is that this is known as hummingbird medicine among the Andean peoples, where you learn to practice like the hummingbird, to drink only from the very nectar of life, not from all of the tremendous garbage that we're exposed to every day. How do you find the nectar in a time when all around you, all there seems to be is sewage? And this is the instinct that the hummingbird has. This is the sacred dream, the dream that will take you beyond the next relationship, beyond the next job, beyond the next search for security through a bank account, or that will take you into this journey into infinity. I know this sounds really pretty far out there, but it is. It absolutely is, because the minute that you embark on that journey, the minute that you leave the familiar port, that you leave the familiar life, the comfortable life, for the challenging one that will bring you closer to heaven, then everything around you becomes heavenly. Everything around you becomes transformed. But it requires that we break away from the old habits that we have of postponing saying yes to spirit until it's a little bit more convenient, until we have enough money in the bank, or until the kids have grown, or until I've retired. It means saying yes to spirit today. Because according to the shamans, this is a critical window of time, a window that will not last for very long, that'll last for another 2 or 3 or 4 years, in which we can take that quantum leap. And then it'll become increasingly difficult. Climate change and political strife and the chaos that really announces the birth of a new human is going to be intensifying. And we need to be able to weather that gracefully, to be in the eye of the storm, even as we are incubating ourselves into a new human. And this is what the heart of the shaman is about. It's awakening that heart, that love space, that vision that is not that warm, fuzzy feeling that we associate with love, but that is that call to courage, and it's a call to explore what it means to be fully human and to develop the qualities and the traits of the extraordinary human. Qualities and traits that we thought belonged to sages and to shamans, that we can embody today, so that we can dream our health into being, we can dream peace in the world into being, we can dream beauty into being, and not just find a slightly better, more comfortable version of ourselves. This is the time for the quantum leap. And it's right here, it's inviting us. And really all it requires is that we say yes with our heart. That's why I called the book The Heart of the Shaman. And in the cover, there's a calendar, because the ancient Americans were calendar makers. They were fascinated with time. In the same way that we're fascinated with space and with real estate and with dividing up the land, they were fascinated with dividing up time, with making calendars. And as they were setting their earthly calendars in alignment with the heavenly calendars, they found that they coincided at this time in history. And they announced a monumental event that would be occurring. We thought that this would be in 2012. Well, that was just the beginning. And this is the decade that we live in of the quantum leap into becoming a new species, literally here, even as that old species is becoming extinct around us. It's a very exciting time, tremendously exciting. But for me, I had to wake up from the nightmare of those dreams that I had pursued that were not the sacred dream. And when you do begin your quest and begin to dream in a sacred way, how do you use the power of your imagination to turn your thoughts into things, to turn your ideas into reality, to turn your prayers into manifestation? Not just to get a better car and a better house, but to get a better world. How do you choose to not have the best job in the world, but the best job for the world? Then everything around you begins to change and your world becomes renewed. The shamans knew how to do this. They knew that every act, that every thought, every gesture, every intention you have organizes reality. And in this book, I share with you how we can do that, how we do that. Ancient practices that allow you to dream the entire world, not just your world, not just our small world, but the entire cosmos into being. And not only is it important that we learn this, it's necessary, because it takes all of us to create that new dream. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for joining me. Dream big, bite off more than you can chew, step into the sacred dream. And remember to get the book, The Heart of the Shaman. It's available right now on Amazon and it's on bookstores. The Heart of the Shaman is practical and it's a gift from the heart. Thank you.